The other big subject of course, in the news at the moment is to do with the NHS and social care. It was described by, I think it was the Red Cross, as being almost third world, wasn't it, the NHS? It's not quite that bad, is it?
No, I mean, I've been working shifts over the Christmas period, and, it's a tough winter. I've worked many tough winters in the NHS, and some of the examples that have been given around ambulances queuing around corners and patients being looked after on trolleys, that's happened over many years, but this particular winter has been probably the worst on record. And, simply with the volume of people coming through the doors, I think the Tuesday after Christmas was the busiest day ever in the NHS, and hospitals are going to struggle. But there's also the element of patients who are not being discharged from hospital because of a lack of social care. And I completely acknowledge that local authorities such as East Sussex, which has the highest number of 85-year-olds in the country, are struggling to cope with, being able to deliver social care. And so patients do get stuck in hospital, and they are desperately wanting to go home, and it's the difficulty of finding services to enable that to happen. And so, then A&E clogs up, and, it delivers what we've seen over the last few weeks. So this isn't a new problem, but I would say it has been the worst winter for a long time.
How much of this is to do with an underinvestment by successive governments over a number of years, by allowing... The problem goes deeper, really, with, of course, the number of people coming to this country. So there's underinvestment. There's a lot more people coming to the country using the services, as well as the fact that of a population getting older. How much of it is to do with underfunding from governments, or not increasing spending in line with what they should be doing?
Well, I think it's a bit of a perfect storm. So there's not one cause for this. So there has been underinvestment in social care, for sure, for many, many years. It's always been the poor relation compared to the NHS. The government has given the £10 million asked for by the NHS, but social care has certainly not been invested in as well. But it is also the case that when money has been poured into the NHS, and I'm thinking particularly around that failed IT project which cost £10 million and never saw the light of day under Labour, when we had the PFI deals which paid for new hospitals but were extortionate interest rates the government had to pay back, and the NHS had to pay back specifically, they still cost the NHS £2 billion a year. So there's lots of examples where when money was spent, it wasn't spent well. So it's not just how much you put in, it's what you do with it. But social care, I've been arguing for a long time that health and social care should not be seen as either or. They're one part of the same thing. So a person needs care. Yes, they may need healthcare and social care, but it should be care. And if you fund one and not the other will end up picking up the pieces at some point. But you are right, it's also about the sheer increase in numbers, not just the increase in numbers of people going through the doors, but the complexity of their problems. We've also, over the last 10 years made huge breakthroughs in medical science. People are living longer, people are living with chronic illnesses. So many people go into hospital with 3 or 4 problems: a heart problem, they may have cancer, they may have diabetes, they may have asthma, and all those problems need to be looked at when someone goes into hospital. And if they suffer one type of illness, it will impact on all the others. So it's a multitude of factors, and there isn't an easy solution. And yes, you could increase funding, but with the rate of population growth, with the rate of breakthroughs we're making in medicine, with the rate of the life span of people increasing, that funding will need to be increased significantly every few years just to even stand still. And so that's the frightening prospect. So it's not a quick fix solution. It needs to be a much more long-term strategic view of how we deal with this, so that we can get on top of these issues for once and for all.
Now, Cass, setting aside the social care aspect just for one moment, I'll give you an example of the problems where it would appear that nobody is facing up to what's actually happening. You've got a situation like the DGH in Eastbourne. It covers quite a large part of East Sussex. Originally, I think it was built to deal with about 100,000 people. in and around Eastbourne and the surrounding villages. And of course now the way the health service is managed and structured means that it's taking people from much, much further afield. And of course you've also got this program of house building, bringing more and more people into the area. Still, there is no signs of anybody saying, oh, we've really got to increase the size of either the hospital or build a new hospital. No one's doing that. So, I mean, we're just building up bigger and bigger problems, aren't we?
I mean, yeah, there's definitely an issue with, the capacity to be able to cope. I mean, I met with GPs in Polegate, for example, and their practice covers not just Polegate but Hailsham and goes into parts of Eastbourne as well. And with big housing developments in both Polegate and Hailsham, they are struggling to cope, and they're literally, at capacity. So it isn't just hospitals; it's GP surgeries as well. It's not just the number of GPs and GP recruitment problems, but the sheer scale of their caseload is increasing, and there isn't an easy solution. You either say you're not going to build any more houses, or you are going to seriously have to look at how we treat people. But we know that 30% of people who go through the doors of A&E don't actually need to be in A&E. They're neither an accident nor an emergency. And so there's a number of things we can do to take that pressure off A&E. It won't solve all their problems, but it will certainly help people get medical advice much quicker without the need of going to a hospital. And so there's a lot of work going on at the moment with pharmacists, for example, so that in Scotland or in France, pharmacists actually have their own list of patients, and you go to your pharmacist before you ever go to see your GP or before you go to a hospital. So we need to be thinking of different ways of doing things, as well as investing in the service.
I'm going to say the problem here is that the government have made planning permissions easier for councils to approve buildings. They've applied pressure to actually get more houses built and all the rest of it. But one thing they haven't done is insisted that along with those planning provisions is some infrastructure. It doesn't seem that infrastructure is included in this, and this seems to me where the biggest problem is, that unless we invest in the infrastructure, these problems are not going to go away at all. They're just going to get worse and worse and worse.
That is changing, because the government did bring in this infrastructure levy, which is now, as houses are starting to complete under that programme, developers have to give a certain percentage of the money from the scheme to the local county council to go towards infrastructure, whether that be roads or whether that be towards investment in hospitals or schools. That is called a community infrastructure levy, the SIL money, and that is designated when people go for planning permission, and local authorities often have to wait for that money to filter through before they then can invest it. So the government has introduced that, but it's going to take a few years for that to filter through. The first pot of money from SIL is just coming through now, so that will make a difference, but it's not going to solve the problems overnight.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean that's probably a start. The other side to the coin, as you've already mentioned, is social care. Now, one of the things that, of course, is happening with social care in Surrey, for instance, they're of course wanting to increase their council tax by, I think it's about 15%, and they're needing to have a vote on whether this actually goes through or not. And of course, it does contain one or two rather important Tory MPs within the boundaries of this. Are you for this or against this kind of activity?
Well, it's difficult. I think it's important to have a referendum on it, because about 5%, say locally, would roughly be about £70 a year on a Band D property. So 15%, I'm not sure what the rates in Surrey are, but 15% would be, double that. So it would be around a couple of £100 extra for people to find. And some people will be able to afford that and don't have a problem with paying that. Others, that's going to be a real struggle. So I think a referendum is important so that people have a say. Some people say to me they'd be very happy to pay extra towards social services. Others say to me actually they're not confident that money is being spent wisely enough. So it's a difficult dilemma, and some political parties are saying we should increase national insurance contributions to help fill this gap. Others are saying we need a specific NHS tax on everyone. So I think we're going to be hearing more and more of this, either at a national or a local level. If I'm confident that money is being spent wisely, and I've not seen that, to be fair, in the NHS in my many years of working in the NHS. It's when money has been spent, it's not necessarily gone to the front line. I'd be far happier with council tax increases or national tax increases to pay for it. But I still feel there's an awful lot of waste in certainly in healthcare that doesn't justify a tax increase. But that's the point with the referendum, is that local people will get to decide if that's something they want to do at their county council level.
Now, you're a healthcare professional. You, as you said yourself, you still do some shifts, and you've done some over Christmas. And like a lot of people, you want to see the social care and NHS stuff kind of a little more joined up. And at the moment, you've got budgets for one, you've got budgets for the other. Wouldn't it be cheaper to actually merge roll the whole lot into one and fund it from central government?
Yeah, no, well, I don't know if it's going to be funded from central government into one, because the money for social care goes to the local authorities, whereas the money for the NHS goes directly to the NHS.
But what I'm saying is, wouldn't it be time to change it so that it is actually all controlled in one place? Therefore, you only get the one lot of administration, and you make sure that the money goes to the right places then.
Well, I mean, I think that's something the government's reluctant to do, because there'd be huge, that's quite a top-down way of doing it. But what is happening locally is each local area, both health and social care, are coming together with their pots of money and jointly providing services. So there's the STP process, which is just happening right now, and it's happening in Sussex, that both health and social care are coming together with their allocation of money and jointly providing services. And the hope is that not only does that save money, but it will improve the patient care. Because if you're, say, someone who's at home and has a number of services coming in to see you each day, you might have your district nurse in the morning to do your medication, then you've got to wait for someone from social care to give you your breakfast, then someone from social care to come and help you wash and dress. You might have 4 or 5 visits. And actually, if you just had one visit for a decent length of time to help give you medication, help you wash and dress, give you a breakfast, and make sure you're okay till your next visit, that's a much better experience for the patient in their own home than as it is now. But also, it's a much more efficient use of resources. So that is being done at a local level, and that's the way local clinicians and local authorities have said they prefer that process to happen, rather than local government just giving it all to the NHS. Because I think the worry from local authorities is if that happened, they wouldn't see any of the money, and vice versa. So by coming together locally, we're hoping that will happen.
Well, I think this is it's up for discussion, this as a whole single topic, and perhaps we'll get back to it when you're in next time. But Maria, our time has actually come up, and I didn't even get to talk to you about Donald Trump either, did I really? Oh, shame, isn't it really? Maria Caulfield, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you in a month's time.